final game of the Texas Mini Worlds. Joining me tonight is the one and only Mr. Mike Kessling. How are you doing tonight, Mike?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Dan?
Pretty good. Jill Olson will be joining us here momentarily. We're just waiting on him. But yeah, this is the finals. Matt won the last game last night by 23 with an incredible beatdown with Jedi Presence. So we see that Matt has decided to play ISB. It looks like your standard new allies version with Greg going with Legend. So, what's your take on
This
this?
was the matchup Greg was expecting. So we
Okay.
anticipated the ISB reload. We'll see how this goes. I mean, the ISB deck is extremely strong. It's
Mm-hmm.
resilient. Legend is probably one of its worst matchups, but that doesn't mean that this isn't doable. Either way, a lot of it's going to be draw dependent, and honestly, this matchup tends to come down to who wins in space.
Mm-hmm.
Stalker can help a lot, but if Greg is able to do a decent amount of attrition with like a big battle with some Destiny adders, who knows?
Okay. Yeah, it looks like Joe is rebooting his computer. Up. Looks like Joe is with us now. How you doing,
Hey,
Joe?
pretty good. How about you guys?
Can't
Doing
complain.
well.
How's your cat, Mike?
He's seemingly still okay. Thank you for asking.
Awesome.
I also moved into the regular office, so I should hopefully have much less connectivity issues tonight.
Okay, so it looks like Matt has gotten out Best Musafar and the castle. Um, Greg played the All Wings combo, so I'm assuming he's playing the Falcon in this deck.
That is correct. So it'll be interesting to see how this, knowing the 24 differential Greg has to win
Mm-hmm.
by, like how he goes about playing this game.
Agreed.
It's definitely an uphill battle for Greg, but as we've seen before, it's not insurmountable. Uh, we've seen good players come back from big holes and
I
do
mean,
well.
Matt's last round was something like that. I don't quite recall, but maybe someone else here.
Oh,
uh, I may have blacked that out of my memory.
I wasn't going to
Um,
bring it up.
yeah,
I'm just glad that
that was.
Greg. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say that. I mean, it's one of those things where also, sometimes having the 24-hour break between games can be beneficial
Mm-hmm.
or detrimental, depending on what side you're on, right? Like, there's part of me that thinks had I just played Matt back to back, he would have been demoralized. He doesn't have all 24 hours to think about whatever I'm playing, how he needs to maximize
Mm-hmm.
his life for it. The flip side of that is like Greg is in that situation now. He's been thinking specifically about this matchup since the game ended last night.
That's a good point. I will say this: there's one good thing that I'm glad to see Greg has done, and I'm glad to see that aim high is on the table for him.
Will be useful versus ISB.
The jabs are going all over
They
the place
are.
already.
Well, I couldn't just make it too easy on myself. I had already beat Kessling once in pod play, and I was like, let's just throw an extra little challenge in there.
We'll see what happens. I appreciated the assistance, the handicap, if you will.
Yeah, the
Okay.
handicap was my brain. That game.
Do
It
you find that those types of things happen more to you on GEMP than in real life? Like playing in person, I guess is a better way to say that.
I think yes, if you pick a single random game, but I think real life the um 8-hour tournaments are a long grind, and those last few
Mm,
games can be really difficult. And Texas Mini Worlds, that pod play, even though it was only 4 games, they every round went to time, and with the extra time on Gem versus real life play, it was 8 hours. And so by the end, I mean,
mm-hmm.
I just got tilted when turn one I went to look with the legend objective for a site, and did the force pile pull on accident. Um,
When that happened, I was like, that sucks. I'm also in the point where I'm like, I don't. If you had asked for a revert, I actually probably would have given it to you. But I was like, I'm not going to just offer up the revert.
Right, and
But
I wouldn't ask. And theoretically, I'm gonna pull from my reserve deck and see everything anyway, but I would know what that one force is, so um, it wouldn't change much. But it's not. It was. I mean, it was clearly a misclick, but it's also a misclick that gave information. It's not. It's. I would never ask for a revert, but I was annoyed at myself for.
oh, playing the game on the other side, I was like, Joe is on tilt, and I understand why. And then I'm like, this game is going also fortunately for me on top of that. And I was like, I just need to hopefully maximize differential to try and help Sam Yoshi on our team.
Yeah.
But you were able to keep it close enough to edge it within to keep Yoshi out. And yeah, it's games like that, especially over the internet, are so different than in real life. Like that game would have played out very differently if we were playing with paper.
Right. There's zero chance in real life I accidentally force pile pull where I go, I'm going to look for a site and pick up my force pile and look through it, you know?
And if you had it, would have been like, oh, this is a very small pile that immediately gets put back down.
Yeah.
So as we see, Greg on his last turn, he had General Leia in his hand. He put her back, and he was able to get Poe Dameron out. He also got Luke's hut as well as Luke on the table. Matt played one of the Sense Alter Shields, Press of Enforcement, and he has Strategic Reserves out. So I don't think he's going to be worried about any of the drains right now. And it looks like he's just going to draw up a few cards. He's at 12 right now in his hand, and he's got 11 force left, so he saves a lot of cards in his force pile.
I don't hate that with this ISB deck. I found many games where if your opponent's not putting the pressure on, like often you might have a Tarkin's Bounty or even Force Push in your hand, and so you're somewhat incentivized to draw a little bit, get to where your hand is, you're piecing some things together. In particular, if he already has a Star Destroyer in his hand, he doesn't have to dig that much. So I'm not shocked to see him do this. It's also possible he's wary of Grimtosh, obviously. So like stopping at 12 seemed fairly reasonable until he's got pressure put upon him. I don't really see a need to draw much more at this point.
Yeah, and as you said, stated earlier, this matchup is usually won in space. So if he has a Star Destroyer, he can save the 11s and hopefully then pile onto the Star Destroyer to go to space on one of his next, if not his next turn, then his turn after that. If you're looking to play, all the information can be found on the PC's website. And I will get that link for you.
One interesting difference already in this build that Matt's playing. Every card on the table so far is standard in the build except for one. The Coruscant docking bay.
The Coruscant docking bay.
A lot of times it's a Death Star docking bay because you only want to have the Imperial Square out. If they go Blount, you don't want him running around between the two sites. And so a lot of times having the Death Star 2 docking bay is better for just an isolated battleground or non-battleground. One advantage to the Coruscant docking bay is obviously you can move out of the square over and docking bay transit between Cloud City and stuff, but you can drop onto the square to Never Yarnell R2 and then move away, versus a lot of decks give you JCC to move away to, but Legend doesn't. So the Coruscant docking bay is a little bit better against Legend if you're doing those little tweaks to your build.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very minor edge, but it actually probably is pretty important in a game like this.
Yes. So Greg will put back Leia again. He grips Finn. So he has Poe and Finn in his hand as well as the Falcon. So maybe we'll see him go to space.
I mean, a Brave Resistance is just honestly, it's a silly card. Like even now with the change, the ability to tutoring is just like not necessarily a healthy effect in a game that already downloads lots of cards. And the fact that you can just streamline your draw so much by double pulling General Leia and getting every card that you need out, like very powerful. Greg has obviously quickly assembled a good Space Force. I mean, against
Yes.
ISB, he's now drawing 3 battles.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Matt, you're going to be digging for justice, but that's going to burn through fairly quickly when it auto adds 3 every time. It'll last for 3 battles. Whereas if it's something like they've got a couple guys and they play a Destiny adder and then you pull it, or they play, a command to add 1 and then you pull off justice, but otherwise you don't bother. When there's battles where you have the option, but here with those permanent adding destinies, you blow through it really quick.
Joe, do you know if Matt is playing Justice in his deck? Okay.
There is a justice in there.
I mean, the one nice thing about Justice is not only does it stop that 3 destiny, it stops the Finn and Poe adder. It also stops the objective, the canceling, and the redraw.
Right. But what's great for Greg is, unlike command where you don't know if they have it, justice on table, they have it. So if you've got the Falcon there and you've got profundity with Holdo and stuff, you can just hold your leadership, hold your Finn adder, wait for them to burn through justice on the normal Poe Hera, and then you go destiny adder, command, and or leadership and draw 6 destiny.
Not to mention, we've seen already a Dark Lighter Spin combo from Greg. So if he is able to recur that, I mean, he can use that to substitute Destiny and get
That's
around
a good point.
Justice.
Yes.
Yep. Throw Han on there, make it maneuver 6.
Oh, Han, Ray.
Yeah, spin for 6, draw 5, and then do it from Lost Pile.
That would be a big game.
Yeah, I think it might be hard for Matt to hang in space because of all those destinies.
Okay, and it looks like he is going to ignore space for right now. There's Agent Callus to the Hoth walkway. He reveals Corporal Obrecht and Masterful Move combo. He puts the combo back to take the Corporal.
So you got to put him on already having Gick. If you're Greg and you see him reveal a Masterful combo, the only reason, there's definitely a non-combo Gick in the deck, and if he's not taking that, you immediately slightly change a game plan to not over deploy for a blowout.
Especially when he's taking a very unexciting Stormtrooper.
Right. Just a random agent that's a trooper.
Yeah. It's like literal blank card versus the thing to tutor for Gick. He has to have it. Otherwise, Matt is again next leveling in ways we've never seen. One benefit of Legend against this ISB deck is you give them nowhere to go wide against you. It'll be interesting to see.
Oh yeah, that's so annoying as a dark side player, not having the JCC Boss Nats chambers, not having places to go and invade and do damage. Yeah, that's definitely frustrating for a lot of different dark decks. Interestingly, Matt here has not pulled the Cloud City docking bay. I think he doesn't want Greg to be able to move back and forth, and he's saying, let's just do a big pile. If you want to leave, you Odin away, and I'm going to grab that, but I don't want you to be able to run back and forth, and so he has not played that other docking bay.
And that's a good point. I mean, he's already flipped. He's going to be draining for 2. He can start his retrieval next turn. He did play Battle Order, so as of right now, he's going to be paying to drain. And I think if you're Greg, you're fine with that, because right now he's draining for 2 in space because Vader's not on the table.
Fair. He's draining for 2. I mean, Matt will presumably lose at least 1 ISB agent. Obviously, Greg will probably pull simple tricks, but over the long run, this is more, given the fact that Greg has to win by 24. Like, we're not talking about a normal game of card. Like,
true,
it would be different if this weren't a match. This is somewhat benefit. Like, not pulling the docking bay from Matt is pretty smart strategically, I think.
Legend puts out surprisingly few cards on table with the amount of locations. For one, like, Legend puts out very few cards, and once it gets the Rose Retrieve going, can just hang around for a long time. 24, I don't think is I mean, it's bad. You don't want to be down by 20 plus in a match play, but
True.
I think Legend. It wouldn't surprise me for it to be for Greg to win in the 19, 20, 21 range, or higher.
Right.
But I think Legend. It sometimes surprises me how good their board state will be, and they'll still have 32 cards in Life Force and 6 in
Yeah.
hand, and you're just like, they just don't necessarily deploy that much.
That's
He
fair.
has.
20 seems very achievable. 24 is just like a little bit more, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
He hasn't used his force pile pool yet, so there's good there for him.
One thing
There
though
is
is
good.
by not deploying Jakku, Greg's a little bit choked. I'm assuming he has the
True.
Black Sun sight, so that'll give him 12, and they'll have 12 each. But
Okay, so he is going to use this once per game force pile pool with the objective.
interesting that he did that. I mean, he must already have a plan and know what's in there based on what was in his reserve last turn. Excuse me, because it's interesting he did that in deploy rather than in activate or control, and then decide to pay 3 to drain 2 or not. But he must already have a plan for all of that force.
Agreed. I'll be interested. I would be surprised. He may attack. I would be surprised if he does. There's only one stormtrooper there, so like a trooper assault's not.
I think
But there's so much opportunity for a counter from Matt. So like I would expect him to go to his own battleground site and set up a stack that includes Rose and maybe BB-8.
100%. Yeah, I think attacking would be a huge mistake here.
I mean, there's
because Matt's got 12 in hand, and he's going to have 20 force active, and they play so many guys, he's just going to come down with 40 power. And
yeah,
I agree. I think it's going to be Rey, Rose, maybe General Leia, BB-8, that sort of stuff.
I mean,
possibly
he could pull the solo from the site, so we could see maybe a solo if he
Solo or Chewie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot that Gray can do this turn. But like you said, it's
side. I think deploying, starting to drain 2 and 2, possibly retrieving 1 and or possibly pinging 1, puts him in a good position to. Yeah, especially if Rose is out, because if he can just retrieve, if Matt's only doing 2 and Greg's retrieving 1 of it, that's huge for keeping that.
Well, I know one thing. Matt really does. I don't think Matt wants to flip Greg. Flipping him would add to the force drain. It would add for all that extra effects on the 7 side. I think he is going to be content with keeping him on the 0 side, using strategic reserves to cancel all those drains. And then that way, I mean, he'll be able to drain for 2 himself.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if he pulls Vader with the castle, then the drains will just be 1 and 1 versus the drain of 2. And they'll each be retrieving 1, assuming Rose is out. Well, Simple Tricks will probably stop Dark Side.
That's what I would expect.
Yeah, now, I was going to say, Greg, Matt would need to get onto his second battleground, and Greg both players limiting the amount of battlegrounds on the table is good for right now, but it's going to end up hurting one or the other in the long run.
Yeah, I think it's worse for Matt. It's because of Simple Tricks. Greg can pile 2 of the battlegrounds to space, and interestingly, I wish Greg would have drained here. I mean, just start doing damage. Even if you get an ISB agent and something else, and you pull Simple Tricks, like if Greg's plan was just deploy, holdo, draw, I would have paid 3 to.
Well, I think Greg realizes that he would have paid 3 to get a guy on strategic reserves.
But you have to blow through those guys.
Unless he has altar or something in the deck that he's digging for before Luke dies, you got to burn through him sometime.
Exactly. Like, in the fact that he's not doing anything else this turn, it's 1, force him to have it in his hand, 2, make him use it. So I'm a little surprised that Greg didn't drain.
It's possible he, when he did the force pile pull, he saw other good stuff and was like, I want to draw for that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and risk spending 1 to get out my activation because that extra force is big and getting a 0 out is big. And then just draw for some stuff that other stuff I want in there. But he did play Holdo too, so if the stuff was that important, he wouldn't have spent 4 force. I don't know. I think maybe he just passed all the way to deploy and then decided to do the pull and then didn't have the option to drain. He might just have been thinking he was going to do stuff and then didn't.
So Matt did drain. He did drain for 2 this turn. Greg lost a Rebel Leadership, and sorry about the mess combo, both from his deck.
So noticeably both from his deck. So
Yeah.
Greg must be pleased with his 14-card hand.
Yeah. And those are kind of big. Those are good cards to have. The leadership is good with, Leia and the General Obi and the Holdo in space. The sorry about the mess, usually Legend only plays 1 of, and Finn uploads it. So it's nice for that to be dead for Matt. He knows that Ray can't just like hit a garrison and then sorry about the mess it unless Solo's out. It's rare for there to be 2 of those in Legend since Finn can pull
it. Bill K for pointing out in the chat, he was wondering if Mike Kessling is sad or annoyed that Greg is down by 24.
Sad. Sad.
And Matt
I love Greg.
Yeah, Greg is a good guy.
Hey, Dan. So. Cal said the commentator faces are on top of where cards are being lost from in the chat box and stuff. And if you can move it to the bottom right.
Already did.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Isard comes down to the walkway. So he's got a nice Doom squad at the walkway. But the question comes down to is he's, 1, putting a lot of cards on the table already. And 2 is he overextending himself?
He needs to lock down a site and start doing damage. It's fine. He's waiting for Greg to do something.
And outside of Callus, he really hasn't deployed much of consequence.
True. I mean, don't get me wrong.
The thing is,
Alistair Evax is my OG homie, but
Evax and Ozil are really good in space, just because the deck doesn't have a ton of pilots. Like all the, obviously Isard isn't, all the patrols aren't, the garrisons aren't, Tarl isn't, Elsic doesn't add any.
Okay, so Greg's going to use 4 to. There's Grimtosh. Let's see what Greg will reveal from Matt's hand.
That's huge. So he's gonna try and get a bunch of non-uniques, and then he'll pay 3 to drain for 2.
That's the hope.
Okay, he's got. There are a few. There's 3 Stormtrooper patrols. Vader's in there. Vandelay's in there. Gick, and 2nd Strategic Reserves. Iroll, Barrack, and a Force Push and a Cold Feet. So you got 3 Stormtrooper patrols. So.
That's big.
That's nice.
Now he can pay to drain. That's basically 6 force right there, because that would have canceled a drain of 2 3 separate times, plus made him lose him instead of deploy him.
We were discussing when the right time for Greg to Grimtosh loss would be, and obvious it was really anytime he went into used territory, we were like, just pull the trigger on loss. But Matt was playing in a way that didn't seem like he was ever going to draw a 12 given the current game. So I think Greg did the right timing of, I'm going for this now so that I can hopefully start pushing through damage.
Yeah.
Well, now Greg can, as pointed out in the chat, do you Walkling the Grimtosh back?
No, I think you need the force still. And you can burn Solo on it. You've already killed 3 of his non-uniques. He probably only has 5. So the odds of him getting both the other ones in at the same time. Actually, I can look at his list. He's got 4 non-uniques, so he only has 1 left. He does have 2 garrisons, but him getting both of those in hand at the same time that you pay for Grimtosh, it's just once you've killed. If he had only killed 2 there, maybe I still probably wouldn't, but definitely not once he's killed 3. There's just not that many left.
Okay, so Greg does not
agree. I mean, at worst, he has at worst he has 6. Even in Greg's mind, it's like probably those 3 to 4 patrols, 1 to 2 garrisons, and a cadet.
So
Yeah,
he does not.
and next time that he draws one, he might just stop drawing and you just fades is big.
So he gets out Ray with lightsaber, Finn, Rose, and the Menace fades. So
One interesting thing is he deploys Finn, who can react free to either location because Poe and Ray are there, but Lana combo can cancel a react.
yeah.
Lana was not in hand though. There was no react cancelers in hand, so I might have just held that Finn.
He has a force push. He has a force push,
Yeah.
right?
That's fair. But so then
I think
the
Finn is
safer play
probably
is
important
deploying
enough that's worth just playing.
Yeah, the safer play is just deploying him.
Especially if he has the Destiny Adder in hand, like he has to make sure. Wait, does Destiny Adder is with Poe or Ray, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like, I think he just has to hedge on putting him out.
Yeah, it's definitely the safer play.
Also, Rose can send him use.
True.
That's true.
So you can just tutor him right back out.
And I think he knows Matt will have to challenge that site. The thing is, Matt's hand right now is not good for that. So we can ignore Gick and strategic because that won't help. He's got a cold feet which he can force push with, but then he's got to put back one of the other characters. He has Barak, Iroh, Elsic, Vader, and Vandalay.
Don't you think he'll put back the other strategic reserves?
Okay, so he can force push cold feet and strategic, but then he's left with 3 troopers, a Vandalay, and an Emperor. I wouldn't be using that to attack that site when Ray can hit someone and to a Destiny Adder to draw 3, and you're just cleared out. Like I don't think
completely agree.
I don't think Matt can do anything this turn. Maybe with the patrols and force pushing but you wouldn't want to burn the patrols on deploying them. You'd want them for strategic. So
Cal, that was the Vader Emperor's Enforcer.
Okay, well, he comes down with Barrack. So the other thing that this is going to facilitate for Greg is flipping.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't think I like this play. I think I would have just eaten the drain of 4 next turn, drawn some. I guess the worry is you can't go above 12 because Solo can come down and just
wreck your hand
and just place it used, and then you're just so far behind.
I mean, it would have only been a drain of 2 or 3.
Yeah,
sorry. Because, I mean, he could have essentially gotten Vader out anywhere on the table, and it would reduce it down to a drain of 1 and 1.
I'm surprised to see Vandalay not go to the Cloud City site to bounce Callus.
Ooh, that would have been a great play.
Mm-hmm.
He probably just deployed that. Oh, he didn't even get the option when he deployed it. There's no other ISB agents there. Yeah, well, so Callus wouldn't have added a Destiny with anyone there either.
Even for subsequent turns, fair. I mean, who knows? He may not. I guess he doesn't. We would know.
For subsequent turns, or planning it right now to peek at the top 2 and take a card into hand, probably another agent to go down with Callus and add an extra Destiny. Yeah, you're 100% correct that Vandalay should be over on Cloud City taking Callus into hand.
No, he did not use the force push. So, and you would think he would have used the force push before he came down with all those guys.
Yeah, so he has in hand force push, cold feet, strategic Gick.
Yes.
Gosh, to be able to, if he could have force pushed for Tarkin here, come down with all those guys, bounce Vandalay, get Callus down, play Tarkin, redraw some things into his hand. He's got a stew going, baby.
Oh yeah, so let's see. Callus would have peaked at 2. There would have been 4. He could have drawn all 4 with Tarkin and then just not battled and just sat in front with all that. I don't like this battle either. I thought he was going to sit here and just hold Vader to blank Solo or whatever, and I don't like this because I think Rey's going to hit Vader.
No, you think he's got to go after one of the troopers.
Probably Barak.
Yeah.
I mean, Elsic's going to soak up all the attrition if he plays the Adder.
Well, plus he has the force projection, so...
Do you think he just doesn't play it, swing at Barrack, and hold it for the subsequent, or swing at Elsic? Really, right? He needs to cancel him and then save the.
Well, no. You don't swing at Elsic because then Elsic will also satisfy all the remaining attrition and everything.
Fair.
So you've only killed the one Elsic, whereas if you hit Barak, then he has to lose.
Barrack, then hopefully you're killing both. Yeah, I see your point. Yep. Hopefully Greg sees your point as well.
I'm sure he will. Though Vader is the other tempting, depending on what's in your hand. If I've got
Yeah.
Chewie with Bowcaster, if I've got Solo, even if not in hand, since the site can download one of those, I'm probably taking a shot and swinging at Vader here so that I get either their text next turn to either add a Destiny or swing at someone.
Well, I mean, before he swings, he
I
can
agree with
actually.
you.
Sorry, I was going to say before he swings, he can actually use the objective, make sure he has good destiny on his top of his deck, and then maybe swing at Vader.
Yep. Yeah, I think this was a bad deploy by Matt. I think it was a bad battle to initiate. I think your plan, Mike, that I had not thought of. I think you've played this ISB a lot. And so you just know some great lines of play. But playing that Vandalay over to get Callus, playing Callus down to peak, force pushing for Tarkin so you could play him and redraw up to 6 cards in hand. All right.
Yes, he canceled Rose's game text. So
right, so she can't play Finn. Plays Finn used, but that seems like such a waste
So
of.
he's taking a completely different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Compared to, he did cancel Rose's text with Vader first before the battle. It's. I would have liked to just put back the cold feet and strategic and take another card. Right now, you don't have a trooper assault. You're not like massively overpowering. It's 7-5. Like, woo, you're gonna kill Finn.
Yes, and then he can just walkling Finn back and tutor for him.
Yep.
Sure. You yeah, I mean you're trading eye roll for Finn. Do you grab that?
He does grab that.
He did. That means Odin combo is live for a couple uses. Yeah, I mean, I guess I think right here you're trading eye roll for Finn. Matt is going to reload his hand a little bit potentially with Vandalay and Imperial Enforcement unless he draws like a Lana combo himself or whatever.
I will say I don't agree with the force pushing Vader.
See, if Callus was down, she could have peeked and taken that and got an extra 6 power. Even if he hadn't done the force push here. Yeah. He'd be, let's see, Vandalay, or Callus is 2 more than Vandalay, so that would have been +2, and then a Trooper Assault, a +6, he'd be 8 more power. Even without force, even still doing the same force push move, just bouncing Callus.
Okay, so Greg doesn't cancel and redraw it. He's just going to force projection. He draws a 7.
Wow. So Greg's not going to lose anything. This is such a bad battle for Matt. And now it's a drain of 2 in space because the flip side of the objective.
Yep.
And he's going to start retrieving with Rose.
Yep. So, I mean, Greg's at 27. He needs to win by 24, but he has 9 in hand. So he essentially can lose 12 cards still. And he's retrieving along the way. And yeah, Menace Fades is turned off at the moment, but I think Greg's going to come back and clear all that crap.
Depending on what he has. I mean,
maybe
like you said,
maybe not in one turn because of the Elsic, but I don't see how Matt can hold long there.
I don't think this still happens.
So in the chat,
Greg's concern is that if he doesn't draw a Destiny, that he wouldn't be able to use Barrick.
Yeah.
And so he's just clarifying
that's
with
what
Matt
the rule is. There has to be attrition to
Mm-hmm.
the implied target rule to be able to barrack. Apparently, at some point, Greg let Jimp do that. Jimp used to have a bug where it would let you barrack even if they didn't draw or have any attrition, and Greg isn't sure if that's fixed. But Matt says he's not going to initiate barrack if Greg doesn't draw. So I think Greg's just going to choose to peel 2 here. Well, I'm not sure why though. Why not draw and kill a guy?
I think is he concerned that if he draws, maybe it'll subtract and he'll end up losing more?
Yeah, if he draws, he's taking the guaranteed 2 loss than trying to make it back. I would think.
Well, I mean, couldn't he
is
have
way better than ISBs, but he does have the Vandalay and Enforcement redraws, so maybe he just doesn't want to give him a couple extra guys in hand and then end up with a high Barrack Destiny
But
anyway.
I was going to say, Bill actually just points out again what I was going to say. Greg still has the redraw, so he could have had
Oh, he
Matt
could redraw
redraw the
Barrack.
Barrack Destiny. Yeah.
And Vandalay's only Battle Destiny, not so it wouldn't work on Barrack's Destiny. So all he has is one Enforcement, and Greg has the redraw. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I would have drawn a Battle Destiny there, and let him Barrack. Ooh, he loses the Jakku system from hand, so he's
And there
all in
goes
on
Solo
space.
from his deck.
I wouldn't be
Yeah, but Rose will
shocked to
get that
see
back.
that be walking back. Well, Rose will get him back
Could
too.
be
But
walking, but
if he
Rose will
wants
get
to
it.
play right, but the only reason he could walkling it back is if he wants to tutor for it and play him to that site.
This
Add a
turn,
Battle
yeah.
Destiny,
And
have
that means,
access to playing something from Lost Pile.
yeah, it means Rose would retrieve a 0, which is a bummer.
Also a bummer, and Greg is pretty low on activation, so like walkling is a real cost to retrieve at this point. So he probably
flipping
won't.
cost him Luke's icon, so now he's back down to 11. He was at 12. If he walklings, he'll be at 10. But he's draining free. Yeah,
And
I
retrieve.
I did not like that turn at all for Matt. I think he was tilted from the Grimtosh maybe and felt like he had to do something rather than eat a drain. But the drains are 1-1, and a Rose retrieve. Like he wasn't taking that much when Greg's not flipped, and so I think he just kind of tilted.
I bet he felt like I need to do something. This game is spiraling a little bit, and
Yeah.
I can say I understand that feeling. So like
I think
at a certain point, sometimes you're maybe not playing optimally. You're playing with adrenaline and pressure, and so he may have just made a decision, and it wasn't what he normally would have if he had taken the time to think. He's also, even for Matt, he's actually playing pretty fast.
Yeah.
Greg is actually 6 minutes behind.
Yes.
Cal points out Vader could cancel Rose's text to stop the retrieve, but then you're worried about Chewie coming down and hitting somebody. So I think you just give up the retrieval. It gets him solo back, which is kind of big.
Well, I mean, not only that is if you leave Rose's game text, you could put Finn back into the deck too. So, but I think again,
So
there's
he does go ahead and cancel Rose. He's like, I don't want you getting back that solo. If you got the Chewie or it's in your reserve deck and you pull it with the sight, all right.
Yeah, lots of opportunity for Greg to get another dude with a weapon. This could end up being very fortuitous for Greg. We'll see.
Right. Yeah. If there's Obi and Saber in hand, if there's EPP Qui-Gon.
Well, not only that, I mean, if Rey hits a guy with her lightsaber, he'll retrieve solo from that.
Good point.
Okay, so Greg
Yeah.
will drain.
Very likely he'll target something he'll hit.
Matt loses Tarkin's bounty and strategic reserves. He'll look for the out of play.
Greg's kind of looking good for a 24+ win here. I think that turn was bad enough for Matt that it might be hard to come back from. I mean, I guess that Elsic is big, right? Because unless Greg really needs another weapon to come down, because if he can hit 2 guys plus make him burn Elsic, he's in a lot better position.
Okay, so there's Leia. Now, if he has Leia's gun, he could easily shoot the Elsic, and then that's not a moot point.
Yeah.
No gun in this build.
Okay.
Okay, there's Elloris Medak, who's normally better in space.
Yeah, I think he's mostly just anti-undercover spy who's immune to double agent or immune to Never Yarnell. Because if you do Corrin, they just zap him.
Okay, he'll retrieve.
Now he's able to retrieve Solo through Leia, so there's almost a guarantee that Solo will be on the table on Greg's next turn.
Yeah. Which at some point you're going to use Solo to play that adder again, I'm guessing. That's if Justice isn't out, the adder is just so good with Legends Destinies.
Okay, so
Greg
before he
loses.
does any swings or anything, he's going to check with his. He's going to look at his destinies.
Yeah, I think right here, Greg's gonna kill two things. He'll trade Elors for like Bark and Elsic, or Bark and Iroll. Or no, you can't lose Iroll and Bark. So I think Bark gets hit. Maybe Vader. Oh, he put him on top, so he's definitely gonna hit Vader here. So hit Vader, and then trade, get another dude for Elor's Madoc.
Okay, so there's the second rose for Des for 5. And Padme for 3, so yeah, Vader would be hit.
When you need to take down Vader, just look to Padme.
Anyway, you can get it done. Yeah, this is spiraling pretty bad for Matt, because at some point, Greg's gonna take that site. In the meantime, while they're fighting over it, Rose is retrieving.
Okay, so there's
General
a
Leia.
Lana Dobreed combo, so Vader will still have his forfeit value. Greg will grab it. I love that grab for Greg. And doesn't look like Greg will retrieve. Or no, he will retrieve the Jakku system.
Taco
I
Bell
think
says
that's
Greg,
purely a life force
Greg cut
play.
Padme, so that Padme that we saw drawn for Destiny is not actually in the deck. Greg. Oh no.
No, Bill is actually incorrect about that.
He was
Greg
the
said
leader.
Greg debated cutting it, and then someone said they agreed with the cut, and then Drew, myself, someone else, and Greg, I think, ultimately said like the utility gained by canceling Vader and or ever adding with Leia because she's so easy to get on the table is worth keeping Padme.
Okay, so Matt will draw a 4 for Barrack's Destiny. Let's see if Greg will cancel it.
No.
Greg does not, so
He's cool
Matt,
losing out.
Yeah,
yeah,
he
Matt.
trades Ellis for Vader.
I think that's a fair trade.
If you're Greg right now, you can't be displeased.
No.
You also grabbed Lana, which is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that he's likely playing with 2. I would anticipate he has 2, but if he does not, that's a really big game. And even if he has 2, he only gets 1 use, and then Greg can always fly away with his own first aid combo.
Yeah. See, I just don't think that force push. I don't think he should have initiated the battle. The force push should still be in hand, and that's strategic, so he can use that to swap, and then let Greg battle into him, and that way you can start doing drains of 2 on the ground. But that's just going to be negated by Rose getting 1 and then General Leia getting 1. So I don't know how Matt's going to get damaged through right now. He has to take both sites or the system or something. But with General Leia retrieving and Rose retrieving, there's no way ISB is going to get.
Okay, so he's going to come down with Peter Canos.
Bill, now that you say that, I do remember him saying at the last second last night, I put in a Kraken for her, and then I said gross, and I assumed he was lying. So
Okay, so Tarkin comes down.
Tarkin does not have 2 dudes to cancel with, though. Vandalay is
No,
the
but
only...
he is drawing 3 cards with Tarkin, so he might get into another one.
He might, yeah.
Trying to think if there's like who the main ISB guys that are left. Okay, there is the Justice. So he pulls Justice out with Tarkin, most likely. So he's got Wolf, Garrison, and Neville Trainor on there. So there's another ISB guy.
Ooh, I don't like playing that patrol. I mean, yeah, it lets Tarkin cancel, but it's a drain of 3 in space right now. I guess if he pulls Resistance, he does have another shield pull, right? Because did he play the Cold Feet?
No.
He doesn't have 3 Battleground. I guess he'll have to go to the docking bay.
He just played the docking bay.
I hadn't seen the docking bay one.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like the docking bay play, but I guess he wants to split up and start getting more damage through. He's going to have to pay 6 every turn to do it. Did he even pay 3 this turn? No, he didn't. So I don't like the docking bay play. If he's not going to be paying to drain at both places, then you've just given an extra site that Greg can potentially take for Menace Fades. If Matt somehow does take the antechamber, you got to be at 3 sites.
Okay, so let's see what
we see a battle here.
Yeah. The chat points out Jedi Pack Tarkin is an underrated card image. The finger rag is really good. He didn't say the magic word.
I've got Dotson here.
I don't see this as a good battle again for Matt. Like, I don't see this because, yeah, you're outpowering him and you get a cancel, but he's gonna hit a dude, and you're trading Finn going used for 2 dudes, 1 dude, I guess, if he cancels.
So he draws a 4, so yeah, that's gonna hit Barrick. So now you're saving Tarkin for the Battle Destiny cancel, so you're not going to use a card off of Justice.
Cal, I don't think he could have a patrol in hand because I think there was 4 in deck. 3 got killed due to Grimtosh. 1 came back with the retrieval, but that one should still be in deck, and then he drew into the 4th one. So I think he
got 1 floating.
I think there's 1 floating in deck, and he just deployed that. So, Cal says 2 came back.
2 now.
Oh yeah, there's no strategic. Okay. I don't think he would have 1, but it's possible. The thing is, he's thinking about canceling in case he draws a 1. Like, that's not, you don't cancel that. I don't know what that's thinking about. Justice is tempting because maybe that's why he's doing the cancel. He wants to Justice to get that garrison so he can cancel the drain with it and then deploy it next turn. So he's like, I might as well cancel and hope he misses because I'm not going to be able to cancel a Destiny anyway when I Justice.
Okay, so there, Barrick is hit.
That's the only reason why I can see thinking you would use Tarkin there.
Yeah, he's like, let me get any possible utility. He's definitely got to take a card off, I would think.
Okay, so there's a Destiny of 1. I mean, he can cancel and redraw that with Vandalay, though.
And that's why you don't Justice also, is you've got Vandalay and Enforcement. So I think he should not have canceled. Just let Bar get hit and then cancel Greg's Destiny here.
And he draws a 3, so I mean, he can still cancel that with the Impressive.
I think Matt's super tilted. Like, as you know, everyone talks about him playing methodically, and he does, but he's making so many mistakes right now. I think Greg does not want him to get.
Some of that could just be inexperience, right? Like, has he played much? Obviously, he stomped me with this deck, but has he played it much outside of that?
I don't think so. I think you're right. He hasn't played ISP much at all, and a few practice games with it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Legend is I think Legend is its hardest matchup.
But even
of like the decks that you would expect.
I agree. I think Legend is probably the best.
He cancels that.
I don't know why, but when I was playing this deck, I took to calling that guy the Doctor.
Which guy?
Lieutenant Renz. He was just always, when I drew him, he was the Doctor.
Oh. I think some of it could be inexperience with the deck, but choosing to cancel with Tarkin there, that's not. I mean, that's a straightforward like decision matrix of, do I cancel his Battle Destiny or do I risk getting hit? And if you think he's going to draw low enough,
well, I mean, Matt did just retrieve Vader, so there's one good thing there. So
yeah, but now he's losing 2 dudes instead of 1.
True.
I totally get what you're saying, Joe, about the like Tarkin decision. I more mean even taking a few steps back from the decision to go to the site, the force push decision, the lack of bouncing Callus. Like,
yeah, the
there's
bouncing
just some
Callus
things I think
and force pushing for Tarkin both were things I didn't see that you did that I think were really strong plays. But even basic stuff like, why is this docking bay on the table right now? The Cloud City docking bay. Why did he deploy that? I don't see any benefit to that.
And
if anything, it's beneficial to Greg. The additional force icon.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not beneficial to Matt. Why is that docking bay on the table? Giving Greg an extra force, giving him an extra site to go to for Menace Fades, giving like like right now, if Greg does abandon this site, if he's got Hujix in hand, or he just Odin's over to the docking bay, now Matt would have to cover 3 sites to stop Fates and pay to drain. Like if he could pile both those sites so hard that Greg was kicked off, and then he's paying to drain and he could win. But that third site just seems so awful. Like that's what I'm talking about. I think Matt is tilted. He's making very subpar plays that aren't necessarily due to experience with the deck, but just bigger Star Wars CCG vision.
Greg does only have 6 cards in hand, so and it's not like he has an active array or something to be drawing from his force pile. So he needs to have something to move away, or to your point, forfeit this site and then restack at the docking bay. But he has to have some sort of response here because he's outpowered by
He's
True.
I'm guessing there's 2 Odins in the deck. It used to only play 1. I think at this point Odin is such a good card that it's worth playing a second one.
And I mean, Bill points
Taco
out
says,
again.
does it matter with a plus 24 cushion? Yeah, right now Greg's hand in life is 35, and he needs to get him down to 23. That's 12 cards. How's Matt going to do 12 damage?
Matt is able to move for free over. So you see him, he's splitting up his force a little bit. Now he's got 3 guys at each of the Cloud City locations.
Yeah. And Matt's got to get 12 damage through Leia battling or retrieval and Rose retrieval. So he's got to get more than 12 damage with all the extra retrieval that'll be happening. He's got to get like 20 damage through to get him down to 23 or less. I'm not seeing that with what's on the table right here. And Matt can't even draw. He's down to 6 cards in hand.
Yeah.
If Greg can come back with...
Oh, I mean, he's probably going to use the 1 to retrieve this turn.
Yeah.
No,
he didn't.
He
decided to save the 1. I'm not quite sure for what, since he already has used his grabber. It's not like you're worried about Gold Leader and Gold 1. You're not in space.
I don't think he has to. He had to retreat or activate solo. So I mean, he could potentially pull solo. He does retrieve that ray that he lost.
There's probably a second. I don't know.
Yeah, he's got to have another ray in the deck. So
Matt
that is a
didn't pull
drain
resistance. This is what I'm talking about being on tilt. He
did he have a shield pull?
He had that cold feet in hand, and we haven't seen it lost or anything. He should have a cold feet in hand, and because he's played 4 from the Knowledge and Defend. He played 1 from the site, Luke's Hut, and then he has a cold feet in hand. He should have played resistance.
Well,
and
no,
I think
actually, he played Min Canoe.
Yeah, I was going to say he has Min, so he got...
Oh, yeah, so he has a shield pull even without cold... Yeah,
yeah.
I don't even... I think he's just tilted because he took a drain of 3 last turn. Yeah, Taco says, Joe, sounds like how I felt watching Mike MHT. I mean, you can clearly tell. It's the same thing, Dan, when you were commenting my game against Mike, that last game where I didn't pull aim high and I just kept doing stuff wrong. Once you get into that spiral, it can be real.
Yeah.
Matt's,
I was going to say,
Matt's
I've been
100% in that spiral. He's made like 6 plays that are just...
questionable.
No, beyond questionable, bad. Like... not pulling resistance.
About halfway through the game against Matt, I was like, what have I been doing? Can we turn back time? Like, you're kind of aware that it's happening, and then I'm like, well, now I have to try to dig myself out of this. And then it's like, what alternatives?
Okay, so Greg...
we had talked so much in that time about winning by a certain amount and whatnot that I played so not aggressively that I psyched myself out of the game and made mistakes. Matt, I think, is somewhat in a combination of like Legends, not a great matchup. He doesn't seem to have a ton of experience with the deck, and he's made some questionable decisions.
And
so
it'll realizes that about the questionable decisions. I mean, I'm sure he realizes the resistance, though I don't know why he's still not pulling it.
Okay, so he is going to use the site to download an alien. Let's see who he gets. He did just search his deck with the Luke's Hut, so he does know that an alien is there. And there's a Chewie.
Sam pointed out, like, maybe he's holding the cold feet for resilience, which I was thinking as well until we realized he actually has a natural shield pull left.
Well, and if he had resilience, he probably would have used it on that ray. So,
And then at this point, it's like Ray's gone. Let's play it.
Greg
Even if he
knows
didn't
he
have a
has the
shield pull,
cold
use
feet
the cold feet.
because of Grimtosh. So if he does have a resilience, he's just holding it anyway, waiting for Matt to use the cold feet to pull a shield. But yeah, between Min and the site, he should still have a
Right.
shield pull.
And
All
there's
right. Yeah.
BB-8.
So the math right now looks like Greg's doing 3 in space, though once resilience is pulled, that's 2. Plus 1 for BB-8 is 3, plus 1 rose retrieve.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt can pay 6 to do 4. So they're essentially both doing the same amount of damage right now, but it's costing Matt a lot more force to do so.
So he'll use
with
his
only
objective.
6 cards in hand and well behind on life force.
So he puts
Yeah.
both of his cards onto his force pile, and then he just draws. So he's drawing up to all but. Okay, so he's gonna use Rescue in the Clouds. I mean, he's still getting hit for 4 this turn.
I think he can afford it.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting hit by 4. I mean, and Matt has to pay. Matt has, if he activates, so he would have 14, pays for it. He'd have 8 cards to work with this turn.
Desai points
8
out.
force after force training with only 6 cards in hand.
Desai points out. Matt could know Greg has AJR or not in hand after that Ray was forfeited. If Jemp paused for a response to that forfeiture,
True.
then he might know that he has resilience in hand, and so he's not playing it. Not playing the cold
That's
feet.
a good point. Like I forget about that kind of thing with Gemp. Like if you have a response like that, that gives your opponent a lot of information.
That's fair. It's possible Matt isn't Gemp experienced enough to pick up on that level of nuance. Or he's just like, I know that he'll eventually have this card, so I need to hold on to it. But it's also very possible that he did pick up on that.
Okay, so there goes the Finn Adder. And Finn.
Which isn't terrible, given he can... I mean, I guess there are still 3 cards on Justice, so it's...
Right now, he's assuming he's never going to burn through Justice, so he's like, whatever.
And Solo, and there goes the Resilience. So he did have the Resilience.
Cal says you can add the fake delays, the mimic decision delay, and that's fine, but with how close games go to time now, if you add that to every action, you don't have enough time.
And Greg is already down by 6 minutes. How much of a grind
the game has gotten with every game going, well, I doom stack with Rose, so I'm negating your damage, and you doom stack, and you're retrieving with Scum, and and you're playing ISB, and it's just every game goes so long that adding in that fraction to every single action is just...
Okay, so
and I'll be honest, if you are that capable of doing that while also playing optimal Star Wars, like, my hat's off to you. You're like
right now, Matt needs to not battle. Stop battling, Matt, because he's doing 4 and he's taking 3 and they're both retrieving 1. So if he pulls resistance, then he's taking 3 because of BB-8 in the drain, and they're both retrieving 1. He's ahead in the damage race, and he only needs to win by 24. He's behind in the life force race. He needs to not battle here. Just say, I'm good with
Greg is at 24 right now in his life force.
With 6 in hand. So if he can do a few more turns of drains,
it'll get him low enough.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see Greg Odin out here, head over to the upper walkway.
Would you go to the upper walkway? I'd go to the docking bay. Because you don't have that you don't have the possibility of 2 Battle Destiny with Callus.
Yeah. Fair.
But that's I think you're going to see MHT battle just because he wants to retreat. Maybe he wants to retrieve with the enforcement. I mean, he's already up in by power by 8, so.
Yeah, but there's a weapon, and I mean, I guess he wants to kill whoever he kills there is good, right? Chewie, BB-8, Leia, but you're trading 2 guys. Or 1 guy. Chewie's going to swing at Tarkin.
This ISB deck is gross.
Oh, you're telling me. Have they released any spoilers taking down ISB at all? Oh, slip sliding away. Didn't they do something? Wasn't one of the tweaks? Okay, why
So
are
he's
you
going to
swinging
fire
at
it
curve
here. That makes no
instead of
sense.
target?
Now he draws a 1.
Taco says no. There's no spoilers so far about ISB. So hopefully I mean, I'm sure D&D is aware of.
And he draws a 5. So
Oh, so he
I
can cancel this with Tarkin, and then he chooses who to lose. Something with Gideon. Oh, Gideon only downloads to his site now. And
yeah.
maybe only if it's a battleground or something. It's like it's a minor change because a lot of times either you throw Gideon to a battleground and you're like fine, or you throw him to the 2-0 and then okay, you have to download a trooper there that helps protect him,
Yeah.
or you move it over to the JCC. Like it's
honestly, it's a
minor
non-change.
So
It's a change
he does take the
it's a
garrison off
completely
of
irrelevant.
Justice.
It's better. It's better. It's a good change, but it's very minor.
It moves the needle from like this deck being 100% overpowered to like 98% overpowered.
Yeah, it goes from tier 0.4 to tier 0.5.
I mean, let's put it this way: Gideon hasn't even been deployed this game. Does it matter?
That's true.
Sure.
And there's Gideon for Destiny. Can't be canceled right now because he took the garrison off of Justice. So he's up by 11 in power.
And
Great
he's
draw.
going to forfeit Ren's.
Yep.
No, because then Tarkin couldn't cancel.
No,
oh, he
Tarkin
could
can't
because the
cancel.
troll's there. Yeah, so he should forfeit Ren's.
Imperial Enforcement is probably
Or no, Elsic, I guess, if you have no troopers left. I don't know.
Yeah. You have
Imperial Enforcement is probably the biggest offender.
Taco says Ren's is so good. Get rid of Elsic. It depends if he's gonna get back Biker Scout troopers, but yeah.
Yeah.
He goes
And
with
there goes
Elsic.
the Elsic.
Ren's is power 4 instead of 1.
And Chewie is lost. So, I mean, that battle was not bad for MHT. He got rid of a guy with a weapon.
He traded Elsic for Chewie, and
Yeah.
he got the card off Justice. Okay, yeah. But the reason why it worked out is because he missed that swing. It went much better.
That was a big swing.
But I will say I agree. I don't understand going after Kier Kanos. You have to get rid of Tarkin. Tarkin is so good in this matchup. Having that, being able to cancel Weapon Destiny, canceling a Battle Destiny, it's so good.
I would say I would remove the in this matchup clause.
in any matchup where you're battling.
Even in games that you're not necessarily battling, sometimes the ability to reload your hand when you go really wide is also really strong. I mean, cards that freely cantrip is a magic term, but like cards that freely replace themselves in certain situations, Tarkin does. Here's the real problem with ISP. All of these cards do more than a given character could, and then when you have like 10 characters, like that's too good.
Like pull treat him, play him, draw a card from used, and then lose him.
And then when he dies, draw another one.
Yep. Vandalay, put him down. Bounce one back to your hand. Like how many times have we seen? How many times
deploy him for -2?
Yeah. How many times have we seen Vandalay come down? Just to put somebody on Vandalay or Vandalay come down, put Wolf out, and you get 4 more force.
Or you bounce Paul Tritium, go to where you're going to fight, replay him in space. You now have gain cards in hand. Enforcement is probably the most egregious card, but all of these cards are problematic.
Yeah.
Greg just paid 3 for Walkling to take projection in hand, which means he's going to Odin out of there over to Cloud City because you can't play it on Cloud City. So his plan is to deploy it to Maz's castle, Odin over to the city, and
after he retrieves and does 4 damage.
Well, he's going to cancel with strategic with that garrison he took off of Justice.
Oh, that's true.
There's still no resistance.
Honestly, so the question in chat about would blanking enforcement hurt other decks? Like entanglements is potentially a deck that is hurt by that. I don't really think entanglements is a deck we should be helping.
Entanglements, ROPS. So I like enforcement in that it's thematic and stuff. I don't think it's a problem even in ROPS or in IE. I think it's a problem because all the super efficient ISB agents are just so good. Reloading them into your hand, getting that Wolf pull, treat them, getting Callus, getting Tarkin, like they're just, you don't have characters that are that good in ROPS.
I would argue changing it from redraw into hand to just redraw or not in this situation.
I like that.
Yeah. That's a
Redrawing the
good.
hand is an abusive mechanic.
Agreed. 100%.
All right.
Okay, so that would make that drain now a drain of 1.
Yep. So Greg's next turn going to take 3. He'll deploy someone to the docking bay probably, and then Odin over to the docking bay. He'll use his peak to make sure he has enough force for the Odin. Oh, I guess he can deploy him there and then Odin. I mean, she's not a rebel, so she's not +1 with the patrol, but...
True.
Yeah, Rops had... Yeah, it's interesting. Rops got hit with like 4 different things that made it unplayable, and so far we've seen one very minor change on Gideon.
Yeah.
It's funny, I didn't really quite realize how badly Rops had been neutered until I'm playing in the VR format in the Corona Cup. And so I pulled up Rops and I flipped the objective over and I read it and I was like, what happened?
Greg draws a 0 to Odin.
It's unreal how
handy.
Jakku.
So he does choose the upper walkway instead of the docking bay.
You know what? Actually, this is smart, and the reason is Matt could essentially move his guys over for free to the docking bay. If he moves his guys over from the docking bay to the walkway...
If he moves, he loses the game because of Menace Fades. He will be down to a drain of 0 at Maz's Castle and 1 at the docking bay, and he can't win the game that way. So he has to be on all 3 sites now, and that's why I didn't like deploying the docking bay, especially this early.
Yeah.
Now that it's out, though, he kind of has to consolidate to fight Greg. And so I agree with Dan, like going to the 2-1 makes sense because now he has to at least use 3 to move over.
Right, but...
Okay, so it's going to go out of play.
But if he consolidates everyone, then Greg just moves away and does Menace Fades. I guess...
And now he has Menace Fades. So yeah, actually you're right. But you're at least starting him off from a point that he has to pay the 3/4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess what you do is you move everyone except Isard.
So the other thing is Greg can't really... yeah, it's not like Matt can draw up, so never mind. I was going to say Greg is only at 24 in life force, so he's at a position...
Which is
combined loss totals?
Matt won by 23.
Yeah, Matt won by 23, so but it was 12
Understood.
to
I'm just
35.
saying he can't draw much. Greg can't afford to draw many fours.
I see.
Is all I'm saying. So I was asking, is the tiebreaker combined loss totals across the 2 games?
Yeah, I believe so. So Greg did just draw. He's not.
Matt doesn't actually have that much in loss because ISB has so much on tape.
Yeah. I mean, Greg does need to retrieve some here or draw up some because he needs a hand, but he is retrieving with Rose, so that would help him.
And now they're going to start battling again, and Leia's going to be retrieving too.
Mm-hmm. Unless
that's the biggest thing for Greg. He wants to be initiating battles.
Yeah.
I love General Leia.
We just need a better image for her.
It's really good. That mini scum is really cool.
You want a better image? There's no sexier card than White Border Reflection with the White Border General Leia. Oh, come on, Dan. You know you like it.
Actually, you know what? I do. I like having V cards that are white bordered over white bordered cards, but I'm weird. Matt can't draw up because he's only activating 13. So
he's about not having lost room.
Matt's at Greg's at 21, but Cal points out he has Walkling. He just needs 2 used interrupts. But Legend, I mean, they have like leadership. If there's no
leadership's
that's
grabbed.
Never mind. They have rescue, but that replaces itself, so it doesn't help you.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a ton of used interrupts Greg would have.
I mean, there's
He's already had Odin place out of play. I'm looking at his list.
Well, you can
there's
only
the female interrupt.
That's not playable at any time.
Which one?
So if it's in his hand, it has to be situational.
Yeah.
He has Hear Me Baby, he can play at any time. Escape Pod, he can play at any time. All Wings, he can play at any time.
Okay.
Otherwise, nothing else going used. The thing is, though, Matt cannot draw up here.
Yeah.
So like Greg has a little bit of a turn to draw up, retrieve more, put some things
But
back.
if he's only gonna, yeah.
It's going to be close. Like if Matt could
It's interesting.
put
This is
Matt could
gotten a little
slow
bit.
read Greg and be like, there's a low likelihood you can put things back, and if he gets to like 22 or 23, just draw up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that garrison there is helpful for making that battle better.
Well, I mean, he would be drawing 3 destiny to 1.
Yeah, and plus 1 to attrition.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd kill something important, probably multiple important cards.
You'd probably get
Padme.
Leia
Oh,
and Padme.
he would not get 3 destiny because the redraw
Oh, that's true. Yes.
only has 3 in reserve deck. The problem is Matt has to pay to drain, and he doesn't have a ton of life force right now. He's got a lot deployed to table. Yeah, Greg's just losing from hand. Garrison comes down. I think if you are Matt, you move over Min and Ozzel, retrieve
It's
an
Hera,
agent,
Phil.
and pass. What's that?
Hera's on the
Sorry,
Falcon.
I thought you paused for a second, Joe. I apologize for talking over you. Bill asked who the Rebel pilot was on the Falcon. It's Hera.
Okay, so Matt will initiate. So he's going to get to retrieve with the enforcement.
Interestingly enough, so Greg is essentially playing Matt's MHT's legend list. And I mentioned this last night, but MHT has like no respect for perimeter scan. So it's interesting to see the Stormtrooper gets in, come out, and just be able to battle freely. He legitimately has only played it, I think, once in this entire tournament in his no idea deck that he played in against Bastion.
Wow.
That takes stones in some way when the ISB deck is this popular.
Yeah.
I think Greg's gonna be battling back anyway to get that Leia retrieval. So I feel like
if Leia doesn't
have...
go lost in this battle, do you
won't.
lose the Leia or do you run, or do you get rid of the? Okay, so Greg does have the Rebel leadership, so he'll be able to. He adds a Destiny. I think that's smart. And now MHT is forced to take a card off of Justice.
That's really weird. I don't like that pull off of Justice.
Yeah, that worked out in Greg's favor.
I don't either.
Because you have the attrition drop. You're looking at now Greg's getting to probably still kill 2 guys, and you're only killing 1. I would have drawn 3 and tried to. I think your 2 guys would have covered Greg's 3 destiny. Evax for 7, Oberk for 5 is 12.
There's a 5. So. I mean, the garrison could theoretically stick
5 and 4,
around.
9. He still, he has to lose 2 guys to Greg's 1. Whereas if he doesn't pull off Justice, I think he still probably loses 2 guys, but he takes out 2 or 3, including a very key one. Like instead of just Padme, it's like Padme and one of those other 3. One thing hamstringing Greg is his hand is very small, and he needs more characters to come down to that upper walkway. He needs like a General Obi or a Qui-Gon or something like.
Agreed. He's in kind of like he needs to attack back, but he only has 4 cards he's working with.
Well, let's see what Matt loses in this battle, because you got to assume it's going to be. So there's Obrick, and it's probably going to be the garrison.
No, I think you lose Evax, pay 1 to move Ozzel over, pay 1 to retrieve, pay 1 for upkeep.
Okay.
And that way you have an Ozzel as the agent for Callus. You have 3 destinies still.
I mean, Greg has to lose Padme here, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure what he's thinking about.
Yeah, because he can't afford to peel either. If maybe he's thinking about BB-8.
But he owes 5 battle damage.
BB-8 and 1. But yeah,
I don't know
I
if he's
think
in a place they can afford the one.
no,
That's all.
I mean,
And
I
I think you
agree.
lose the
I
damage.
think you clearly lose Padme, but
And
he
that's
was
what he
thinking, so
does.
I'm
He
trying to
does
come up
lose
with
the Padme.
yeah, and then evacs, and I think you move over Ozzel,
Mm-hmm.
retrieve one, pay one for upkeep, or move over Ozzel and Min, and then pay one for upkeep. I both of those I'm fine with. I might move both.
I think I like
You leave an
moving
eye
both
start.
more than retrieving.
Yeah, that's probably true. The extra forfeit, the extra power, move them both.
We
You leave Isard alone, but you're still holding Gick.
Yeah, I was like, he has Gick, so
Mm-hmm.
if he comes down with Ray,
Okay,
we
there's an
know like
always
Ray with
combo.
lightsaber, he's okay.
So Greg just played a spin, so to stack fives, but he's
Well,
only going to activate 12. He'll still have 3 on reserve. He can objective peek 1 away. If he has a someone to swing, that'll take the other 2, and then he'll have 5/5 stacked.
well, the only thing about moving Min over and keeping Isard there is if even if Isard gets rid of the Ray, he can still move the Rose, the Leia, and the BB-8 over to the docking bay, which would then activate the Menace Fades.
But if there's a Ray, she's clearing both of them anyway. She hits one, and then the other one dies to attrition. So either way, if there's an EPP, it's clearing the docking bay and everyone's moving away.
True.
Like that's Greg's play for the turn. It's a very clear play. You don't battle into 15 and 3 destinies. You go and you kill the stuff over there.
You run away.
Yeah. Especially if you can clear that first, so you have fades going.
Right. I'm saying that's like dream scenario. I'm hoping that Greg is able to piece that together. Come on, Gregolis.
That's if he has a card in his hand. That's the big thing. He's only got 3 cards in his hand right now.
But they're good cards. They're all good. He's filtered to them.
As you guys recall from last night, we were talking about like, what could Matt have? He only has 3 cards in hand. Do you think he'll have the Jedi presence?
True.
And actually, afterwards, talking with Greg, he goes, he only had 3 cards in his hand. I didn't give him credit for anything. Which to be fair, that's like totally how I play the game too. And I was like,
we're on turn 8. I do that when it's like turn 3 and they've had to just unload a ton of stuff and they're low. But when we're on turn 8, by that time, the cards they're left holding and what they've been losing from hand, the cards they're left with are all good.
True.
That's fair. Matt hadn't drawn that many cards last night, so like I think it was reasonable in that circumstance. But in general, I agree with what you said.
So Matt did draw that last card, and he did use the one for maintenance console on this garrison.
Yeah, it's interesting he chose to draw rather than either move Min or retrieve an agent.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm guessing Matt's hand is not very good, and he's like, man, that one extra card might be useful. And
maybe it was that patrol.
He cancels it, but otherwise I would have just tilted that resistance still is not out.
Resistance is your
Maybe
aim
he's
high.
saving it in case he can get a fire. Oh, he can't get a firepower pull. There's no space.
Yeah.
Never mind. I don't know what he's doing. What other shields would he need? Code clearance for a Jedi Lev?
Maybe.
That would shut down. That's what he should pull right now, too.
Yeah, that would shut down Rose.
Which means, because right here, a Jedi Lev gets back EPP Ray, costs 4. She comes down for 5, battles, hits a dude, retrieves from hitting someone, clears the other one with attrition. Everyone moves over.
Well, I mean, I don't think he has enough force for that, does he?
No, okay. 5 to deployer, 4 for Jedi Lev is 9, 1 to battle is 10. If he doesn't pay to retrieve with the saber, then he can move the other 3 away. Yeah. See,
that's what he's doing. Yeah, there's the Jedi Lev.
Greg, are you watching the stream?
He is. He had the Jedi Lev as one of the 3 cards in his hand, but he hadn't thought to play it yet.
Well, I mean, he did retrieve
and
the Ray.
I have that card.
He has.
Now that we walked him through all the pros and cons, he was like, "Okay, I'm ready."
Yeah, I if the code clearance was out here, shutting off General Leia and Rose, I don't think Greg could have used the Jedi Lev Lost. No. You basically cancel that card.
He's going to retrieve Finn. Interesting, because I mean, he retrieved Ray a couple turns ago.
He's got Ray, and so he's going to go Ray Finn, lose Finn, and keep Ray. Move everyone away. I don't even think you need to go Ray and Finn.
No, I don't think so either. But maybe
Finn goes used for +1 diff only if you're battling at the upper walkway where Rose is, right? She has to be with him.
is it?
Oh no,
What's...
yeah, about to be lost from same site. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ray being in deck is not like Finn pulls it. I'm not sure what Cal's point is.
Yeah, Finn
Yeah,
can't
it's not once per
ABR
game.
for Ray post tweak set, so he clearly has to have Ray. You don't take Finn as your entire. You've got Chewie with Bowcaster. You've got a ton of crap in there, and EPP Ray, and you're gonna take Finn. Like clearly, Greg has a plan, and that's probably Ray and Finn. Make him burn through the other Justice, and then maybe get the adder going or something. But
well, he lost the adder as well, unless he's running 2.
Greg is now up to 23 again, and looks like he might go for that battle.
Finn.
If he can get Ray down.
Oh,
Cassian.
Captain Cassian. Okay.
Ooh. My little homie.
I think if I'm Matt, you don't Justice because I want to be able to do enforcement. I want to be able to draw 3 and he cancels 1, and he can make me do a redraw, sure, but I can enforcement and Vandalay to load up guys, and I think
Greg has 1 card.
Yeah, I think doing Justice here would be a bad
but
play.
He's at 24 cards in his life force, so
did he just take Finn because Finn was cheap?
maybe
he could afford Finn. I mean, he's only going to kill Ozzel here, right? And then the patrol will come down to give him another 3 destiny. Fanfare. Just shuffle. There goes his.
There's a resistance. There's code clearance.
Yeah. I don't understand why he took Finn there, because if he just took Ray, deployed her to the docking bay, battled, don't retrieve with her saber, don't retrieve with Leia, hit 1, clear the other, and then pay to move the 3 away, or pay 1 to retrieve 1 and don't move BB-8 and say, I'm not going to do a ping damage next turn. Matt's damage is shut down to 1. Oh,
okay,
hey, that's
so
cute.
there's a good play.
I think Justin is 100% right. Greg lost the game when he lost Ray. The retrieval from the battle and the swings that would have happened since that point could have pushed him above 24. Greg's going to win this game, but just not by enough differential.
Do you think that Greg forgot he retrieved the Ray? And he thought she was in there?
Oh, is there not one in there? I wasn't paying attention either. Yeah. Oh, that's what Cal was saying about her being in deck. Yeah, Justin says Ray was Rose retrieved. Maybe that's what it was, and then Greg went and looked. I don't know why you don't take Bowie, though. Maybe just because Finn can go used with Rose and up your diff.
I think...
All right, so double or Never Yarnell just took out the Cassian mid-battle. That's pretty big. That means he's going to get 3 destiny to 1. Yeah, so Ozzel's going to die here. But then the patrol will come down off strategic to kick Callus back in, regardless of what Matt has in hand.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a concession soon.
Yeah.
This game...
Vandalay.
Greg should win, but he's not going to win by enough.
No.
Yeah. Well, let's see who dies here, too, because it's... Let's see what... He just enforcemented 2... And he's going to pass on enforcing that one because he doesn't want Grimtosh lost. Oh, there, he'll enforcement the Vader.
I mean,
Yeah, that's so good for Matt getting that Vader back, too.
Case in point, that card is stupid.
So that's 9 right there. So you got to lose Finn and BB-8.
I will say, I was
Greg,
playing this ISP.
If I was Greg, I would have done the legend redraw on that Vader. Even though you're giving him a better destiny than 1, you're not letting him take the Vader into hand, and you know he's going to redraw it anyway.
The problem with that is he used the legend redraw on the Never Yarnell.
Oh.
I think Greg knows that the fat lady is singing. That's my expectation.
So do you capture BB-8 here, or do you send him used? You can't send him used, right?
You can't send him used.
You capture him with Callus?
Yeah.
Bill seems to agree with me with the rip. I think Greg knows this. The resistance is futile, and
Well,
this is
absolutely, because right now, well, I guess they'll both move away
Yeah.
and use your last two of your last force, but because otherwise, patrol comes down and they're drawn 3 destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So you move away, but he's still gonna battle. What, drop Vader in battle?
Canceling Rose, yeah.
why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
So
I will say
Greg still has 25 plus
Mm-hmm.
2 in, or 24 now, and 2 in hand. But Matt's got to get him down by 4 to win outright and not go to lost piles. And he's going to do 3 of that
I
right here.
think that between ISP retrieval and draining, he'll be able to do that.
Yeah. I'm curious what it would be if they played it out. Because now,
Joe, I mean, you played a. Sorry, go ahead.
we were just saying Greg should win this and maybe by like 20 or something. But now if Matt clears him from table, of course, Greg's playing to win by a lot. Otherwise, he would have drawn more cards and had more guys to go down and kill stuff and like.
So
Justin, where are you seeing the extra force? Because projections on the
Yeah,
on
there's
Maz's
a projection
site
on Maz's castle, and Garrison is at his own site,
it has
not
to
on
be yeah.
opponent's site. So I think he just does 2 and 1.
yeah,
Oh, that's right. BB-8
Joe, I
adds
know
one.
you've played a lot.
BB-8 adds
BB-8.
one.
Joe,
Yeah.
you played a lot.
Justin,
Thank
you were
you,
good
Justin.
at this game. Adds 1 to the drain there. So
That's
and
game.
more importantly, it makes it a drain of 3. You only have to
Mhm.
pay 3. So
Justin, I scrubbed out of the top 16, so I have an excuse. These guys played out a little further.
Oh, I wasn't commenting. I said this game was over a little bit ago.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get Joe's point of view on this deck because I know you played it in multiple rounds in the tournament, as did I.
ISP.
And I will tell you, the first game, this is a little embarrassing. Joe, the first game I played with this deck was the aim high game against you. So I was learning as I went. So the fact that the deck is that powerful that with training wheels, I know you made mistakes, but like
against ISP. I have very little legend experience.
I have played probably now 20-ish games with this ISP deck, and I have a lot of opinions about it. And I think it's extremely overpowered. And so I'm curious to see how you feel about it, Joe.
The ISP? Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. So
I want to see Greg's the one he played last night.
Greg did a redraw, so he couldn't get the Garrison into hand, but
yeah, he draws a 5 instead. Greg draws a 5. Oh, what was that R2 all game?
So Min will die and Leia will die.
And to answer your question about Greg's list, it was essentially the list that Baroni played, with a few cards changed.
Okay.
Oh, see, Taco Bell said the same thing.
The list for
Justin, what are you saying? So, for the ISB that.
No. So I said Greg. I scrubbed out of the top 16, so I have an excuse for missing BB-8.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know about you, Joe. I have just found playing this deck that it
does too much.
You can like adapt to what your opponent is doing. You can fight them. You can spread. You can go in space. It like fights on whatever axis you choose to fight on. And so like against literally every light side deck, you have options. So if you know the deck well, it's really hard to combat. And like the turn we were talking about earlier with the Force Push and Vandalay and Callus, and like if you have played it enough, you will see lines like that are
even better.
Pretty obvious that are
had made mistakes, but of course Legend would win this handily if they were not playing for diff. Greg would have more cards in hand and would have cleared off a site and would have Menace Fades in effect right now, and he'd be much better off. If he had only had to win this by like 15, I think he easily would have, because he could have drawn a bunch in hand and like yeah.
But this is the best light side against. Well, to be fair, I think this is just the best light side, but it's the best light side against the size deck.
Yeah.
And especially now with the changes, no idea. This is going to be I will not be surprised at Worlds if this is like more than 50% of the light side meta. Unless there's a substantial shakeup with a new deck from the next set. And I am not on playtesting anymore because I found it frustrating. So I don't have any crystal ball into what's coming.
That's fair. Well, I know we announced a spoiler last night on Holo Theater.
Showinthal posted a thread that was like, post if you have interest in Worlds, and my comment was, if V13 shakes up the meta, definitely. If it's more of the same meta we've had all year, I'll probably skip it and do commentary. And I think it was Jellison that posted and said, like, I don't know if it'll shake it up for the good, but there's going to be a lot of different decks. And I was like, well, at least it'll be different, whether it's bad or good. Yeah. So I'm assuming he was saying that with some sort of inside knowledge. So I'm counting on Worlds not being ISB Legend.
And I trust Ryan's judgment, so I agree with you. I will say I saw you posted that, and so instead of echoing your sentiments, I posted my second thought, which was if it's anything like our pod play with lag, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I think at that point we're gonna actually have it's gonna. I think they decided it's gonna be over a 2-week period, so there's gonna be that.
No. I think they're doing it. I think that's just week. That's like the day 3 is the next weekend, right?
I assume it's going to be like a group of, like, we're going to have the first weekend and then some threshold of people will make it to the next Saturday. And then from that, some cut will be to the Sunday. But I could be wrong, but that's what I'm expecting.
What is Greg doing?
I don't know.
Greg deployed the last card in his hand and battled. I don't know. He's giving up on the game.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm gonna. So, Joe, if you don't want to play, I will more than welcome you as a commentator. I will be posting something online.
He tracked a 7, so he can clear both and get BB-8 back, and then move Rose over. But I mean, Matt's got 2 patrols on strategic. He can come down with, even if he didn't have a hand, which he does, he can come down on Rose and BB-8 with 2 patrols. Like, he's just.
Hey, it looks like my random guess about Worlds is potentially accurate because Justin and Taco are saying, yeah, like the second Saturday will be quote unquote day 2, and then the second Sunday will be day 3. So there'll be some initial weekend.
What are the day 1, 2, 3? Because we haven't even done day 1s for a long time. We just have a day 2 and 3 basically. So
I would not think about it the way you think about a traditional World. So I would think about it more like the first weekend is going to be everyone who enters plays. And there's going to be some cut to like threshold. I don't know if it's going to be pods.
Okay, so they might cut to 24 or something, or 16 or whatever, and then a top 4 or something the next.
Or even it's like top 8 from it might be like cut to the top 32 or
whatever it is. Okay,
I have no idea.
I follow you. Everyone on weekend 1, Saturday and Sunday, and then some cut, and then another cut.
Yes, that's what I'm assuming. So that like the final Sunday, I assume will be anywhere between 4 to 12 people, probably 8. Who knows?
And it looks like Justin is.
I mean, people know. I don't know. I'm just guessing based on what I assumed, based on the fact that it was across 2 weekends.
Okay, so Greg is at 22, and Matt can pay to drain 3 more. That'll put him at 19. Rose would make it up 20, but I don't see how he would get up to 23 or 24. Walkling would add 1 more, but
I don't.
If you're Matt, I think you just pay to drain
and then
move
maybe
both
draw
over, or come down and battle. I mean, you play your 2 strategic guys. Battle.
Well, I mean, Greg just drew 1 card out of his deck, so he's at 21. I think if you're MHG, you just draw up and say congrats and good match.
I think Greg is digging for his on the edge that he can play with Hera and
you can set up with the objective.
7, the relatively unprotected, to get 6 back. Surprise, get back in the game.
Does he have?
These guys pointed out the format we're talking about is essentially the Magic Pro Tour.
Yeah.
So I expect it will work. It should be efficient, and that's what who knows what the cut will be, or if it's initial pods on the first weekend or whatnot, but we'll see. Moff Gideon, definitely the boogeyman of this deck, comes down on turn 10.
And there is
Hear
another
the
garrison.
sarcasm in my voice.
And Shaw concedes.
Yeah. So congrats to MHT for going through the gauntlet and winning the Texas Mini Worlds. Our first Texas Mini Worlds in a long time.
Slip sliding away
Gentlemen,
does not work with ISP anymore.
this is big news.
Apparently, it is on the forums as one of the erratas now.
Interesting.
Cool.
I fully support this.
Yep. Good change. Oh, the other change we didn't talk about. So congrats to Matt. Well played, whole event.
Yes, congrats, Matt.
Yes, great job, Matt.
Well played.
One other new change is Grimtosh Monarch being shielded, and the Undercover Spy Never Yarnell meta being shielded. And I'm a fan. I am pro Monarch used and lost. I think they're good for the game, and we don't need to debate that. But I will say, as someone who is pro them, I'm fine with the shields. Like, I think they do a good job getting rid of most people's complaint, which is the lost Monarch can just nuke your hand. And the new shield lets you, if Monarch just revealed your hand, it lets you place up to. Are you still there? My thing flipped out.
Yes, I'm still here. And it looks like Legend actually did get a change.
Joe, can you say what the new? I haven't seen the new shields, so I'm.
Yeah, so it's a new shield. It does a couple things. One is if their spy is undercover, and it's mirrored for both sides. If their spy is undercover, they can't use Double Agent or Never Yarnell. So like U3PO can't Never Yarnell Corrin now, or Jin can't Double Agent Isar. So their undercover spy is immune to being able to do that. And if Monarch just revealed your hand, so it's only the lost part since used doesn't reveal, you can place up to 2 cards into your used pile. So instead of when Lost Monarch is played right there, Matt could have taken 2 patrols and just placed them used and kept 1, and it suddenly wouldn't have been a blowout. And I think I'm okay with that. They have to preemptively play the shield, and it at least it lets them put it used, so they're not lost, but they got to get the cards back. Like, it sets them back still, and you had to pay 4 forced and a lost interrupt to do it, so that's fair. But I'm okay with that as a solution to satisfy.
So for those who also don't know, Legend will receive an errata after with some of the changes that Chris Kelly announced. Apparently, the once per turn during a battle involving 2 resistance characters, you may cancel an opponent's just drawn destiny to cause a redraw. So now you have to have 2 resistance.
Before you could just do it once per battle, you could have your random general OB down and do it. Now you have to have 2 legend guys. But if you think about this game, every single battle had 2 until that last OB one. Every single battle had 2 legend guys, and there was 2 legend guys in space. So I don't know that that'll really tweak much.
I think it might offer a little bit of a tweak. I mean, I like it a little bit. It's a move in the right direction for Legend. But yeah, I think like in a game like this, where, as you just pointed out, there was more than enough Legend guys out there to stop it. So, but yeah, I like a lot of the changes that are coming down the pipeline and everything. So expect some changes coming out soon. Set 13 looks like it's going to be around the corner very, very soon. So hopefully we'll have some stuff with that. And we'll always be looking out for more Worlds information. We still have the top 16 of the OCS going on. I believe one of my commentators, Joe, is still playing in that.
Yeah, I'm supposed to play Eric, but he's been really busy with life. I'm hoping we get to play this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also hoping V13 comes out sooner rather than later, or these tweaks the erratas or something to shake up the meta, because that would be nice.
Every deck.
I think that the errata is supposed to be there for round 2. I hope, based on the new Alex discussion, I think that will be that, and I hope so for your sake and everyone playing this tournament, because the meta right now is Stains.
It's a little stale. All right, I'm off, guys. Thanks for casting this.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Enjoy.
You guys take care. Thanks everybody who watching. Good night, everybody.